this conversation, I think, is a really important conversation. I mean, all the conversations we've had on this video series that we're doing has been very important. But this one touches more you, because this is kind of your expertise in the field of branding, and it's branding your
logos and having brochures and
right branding
all the way now to how important it is to actually market yourself through video and internet. Because I do have to say that there was a time doing that when I was learning that, when I was going to school to learn about that, the internet wasn't even a thing.
Right.
And so therefore people had to think about that stuff differently. And of course now it's evolved quite a bit. And even now you have to think about it differently.
Right. So branding, why is it important? So people are opening a cafe or a restaurant, and this is always the crack up, because we see them every day, because most of the people we sell equipment to are new business owners, or sometimes, a lot of them are current business owners, but they go into business and they go, my brother-in-law's sister's daughter, who's 12 years old, did my logo, and that's where we came up with the name,
right. Well, a lot of people they get excited and they want to think up something clever or unique or different.
Right.
And then they want to do the artwork, or they want to have, they might need random things done, as far as how they want to market whatever their company is.
Yeah, I mean, even the cup, like they may have some to-go cups if you have a cafe,
or they have
or ceramics,
t-shirts or hats,
or just the name of the business. And I think that it's important to point out that, why would a company, these large corporations, why do they spend so much money on branding? They would never take or make the choice of saying, hey, let's have a 12-year-old person, or, I mean, nothing wrong with kids art, I'm not trying to bash that, but it's so important. Branding is more important than most think, than most people believe. So,
well, I think that when I first started learning about it, or trying to understand it, I learned a lot of really valuable information that I still think about now, and that we still discuss before we talk about doing any kind of branding, whether it's for us or giving advice to somebody else that's trying to brand their own products, is you have to really, really think not necessarily about what you like, or what looks good to you, but what is going to look good to the person you're trying to sell the product to, what they're interested in, what they like, what they don't like, what's their favorite color. You have to actually ask yourself a lot of random questions, not what you like, but what they like.
Well,
and we've seen that a lot.
Yes, we've seen a lot of people design businesses that make them happy, and say, if I'm going to design a business that make me happy, then I'm also going to design the logo that I like, or the color theme that I like, or and I think that big word demographic comes into play. It's like an important thing. Do not open a business because you like, if you like red, don't make the whole business red. You need to always keep in mind there's psychology and incredible amounts of money and time and effort spent in planning on a specific business, especially in the chains. The national chains have figured it out. They have a whole room of people that's all they do is focus groups, and they go, okay, what customer are we going for? They talk about every aspect to it. So I think it's important.
Well, they'll even do studies and find out exactly who that customer is.
Right.
And then they'll decide, how are we going to give them this thing?
Exactly.
Or make them think that they want this thing that we have.
Yep.
And then at that point, you're literally analyzing them as an individual.
Yep.
As a buyer,
yep.
As a person in a daily life, what other things do they buy? What do those things look like? And we used to always laugh when we would learn about it. It's like the details that you would ask seemed ridiculous, but it mattered. It mattered what they ate for breakfast. It mattered what the car was that they drove.
Right.
And once you understood those things and then went even further to make sense out of that, it helped you understand a little bit more about what you're providing. Because it is true, a lot of people say, I want to be in business because I like to cook.
Right.
And then you think, okay, well, that's great. Who's eating the food, you or these people walking down the street?
Exactly.
And they don't always think about that. They just know they like to cook.
Well,
and you have to consider that.
Yeah, and I think that it's. We've seen little micro markets. Like you could be in a small neighborhood cafe or restaurant, and then you move over 2 blocks, and the demographic, the houses are more expensive or less expensive. They either have the money or don't have the money. That type of food or that type of cafe environment is going to be more well received 2 blocks over rather than 2 blocks this way. It's hard to believe that it actually changes that much, but it does. Now, if you're the big guys, you have actually done studies on neighborhoods and that area. They'll spend months and sometimes even years studying a certain area to figure out where they're going to fit better, if they've already got a theme, or if you're smart, you change the theme slightly for that, for the environment.
And then that's where the real work comes in. Is it's changing. It's changing every day. And so even if you thought that you understood it, if you wait too long, it changes again, and then you have to also change with it.
That's right.
And I feel like even for our own products that we sell, it comes up on a daily basis where you look at things and you say, I think that changed.
It changed.
And I haven't changed yet, and it might have something to do with something else, and so therefore we need to hurry up and get changing.
And I think it's what inspires us to do, like with our Millars coffee, the wood roasted, the pull espresso machines, traditional hand pulled. The reason why we chose those products is those are timeless products, and there is things that are timeless, and timeless products, resonate through an industry or a demographic.
Well, if it's something that is going to be consumed regardless of the change,
right?
And I think even when the economy goes up and down, and you see these things happening in politics, people still keep drinking coffee.
Exactly.
And it never changes. It doesn't go up or down.
But it is, I think a very important thing. I think that people should spend the time, spend the money. It's just as valid as doing a plan inside your restaurant or cafe. I mean, some people will go to a design planner and design, the layout, and they'll spend thousands and thousands of dollars. Well, take a little bit of your money and put it to a graphic designer or a marketing expert or a media firm and say, what's your opinion on this, and then also do some studies. Look at the city, look at the what people are making in that neighborhood or that area. How much, what car do they drive? Those are important things. And then realize and take yourself out of it and say, I'm going to design a cafe that isn't just for me. It has to be it's for you a little bit. I mean, that's obvious because you want to be happy in your art. But also design it so that it serves a neighborhood or serves the area.
Well, I don't know how many times I've been in places where I've noticed a business that was trying to function in a place that wasn't probably a good place to set a business up.
Right.
But yet you see the people, they're doing everything right. They've got the right outfits. They've got all the workers. The equipment looks great with lighting, signage, even the logos look amazing. But if they're not in the right location, or if they're in some suburb that doesn't make sense, eventually that business is probably not going to do what they want it to do.
Right, probably going to fail,
and
or
then on the other
not do
hand,
the numbers.
You've seen businesses doing everything wrong. You're surprised that they can even stay going, but because certain other things were worked out,
right,
they're extremely successful.
Well, there's some in Portland, Oregon, and in Seattle. You go to, which are really big coffee capitals. When you go into these cafes, you see that the people even working there, they're choosing employees that look like the neighborhood. So if it's a 20-something neighborhood, then hipster, then you have the employees are that. If you are in an older area, then you use the older employees. Which by the way, against the law, you're not supposed to hire people based on age, race, or gender.
Right.
But we do see it. And it's like I do see that the successful ones are smart enough to realize that we're going to design the furniture, we're going to design the logo, the branding. It's all going to be based on this area.
And why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I mean, don't you want them to be comfortable when they come in? Don't you want them to feel like they relate to whoever is selling them something?
Exactly.
They'll continue to keep coming back as long as they relate to it. And a lot of it subliminal.
It is.
A lot of it is just them having the feelings of whatever you've created, the energy that you've created. There's also an energy that you can't see, but you can feel it when you are there. And I think when people walk into places, you can feel the energy right away.
Well, we can sum this up by one word: the experience.
Right.
And that's something that you and I always talk about when we go to a restaurant or cafe or anything that we ever encounter as humans. We go to these places. I don't care what it is. If it's Disneyland, there's an experience there. There's an experience in a cafe, and that experience, it's your job to create an experience that works well with the demographic of the area. You can still be a pioneer, and I don't want to tell somebody don't do something radically different just because we're telling you really should just design a boring cafe because there's boring people around it. That really isn't the case. You can still create these very creative experiences that still appeal to that specific market. But the experience is really what it's all about. And don't feel shy of the experience. And I hate to talk about the negative ones because I'd rather talk about the positive ones. But the negative ones always stick in my mind. We once walked into a restaurant and they had plastic outdoor furniture as their tables and chairs, and I just was appalled. I'm like, holy moly, I've never seen anybody really go to this effort to create a horrible experience for their customers.
Well, what it really was saying is I'm not going to an effort.
Right.
And you're not that important.
That's what it does.
Because you're going to sit on a plastic chair, you're going to eat on a plastic tablecloth.
Yep.
And at that point, you're thinking to yourself, I'm here, but I don't feel like anybody really cares about me.
Right.
And then if the food is substandard,
Well,
or if it's not
done.
being served in a way where they make you feel good about yourself, what's my experience?
Well, and I think that there has to be like three arms to the success of a good cafe. We've definitely seen enough cafes and restaurants in our career in the coffee business, so there has to be amazing location, amazing decor and experience, amazing customer service. Those are the three things. And I guess if we add four would be amazing products, because products trump a lot of things. You can have any of those 3 to 4 things right, and you'll generate enough customers potentially to keep you in business. But what the really successful people do is they have all of them right, and that's what's so inspiring. When I've walked into these places, I'm like, this person has done everything correct, and that's why they're successful. It isn't. I've never seen those things done well and done to their best. I've never ever seen somebody like that fail.
Well, I just wish that in general, when people decide to go into business, because, like we spoke earlier, they are going to find joy in this experience of going into business for themselves.
That's right.
That they should consider those 4 categories before they do one thing.
Exactly.
At all. They should say, I want to make the experience for the person. I want to provide a good thing for them, product. And you focus on these other little things and the branding and all that stuff, and understand who am I selling it to, not just what do I like, but what do they like. And I do think, and I think it's just the way it works in the world, that if they come in and you're giving them those things, they're recognizing it. It's a symbiotic relationship. The odds are that everyone's going to be happy. Right. They'll come back, you'll be happy, everybody will feel good about themselves. And we've got relationships with our customers that way. We still know and have very close relationships with people that don't buy anything from us anymore because that one transaction was so well received that they continue to come back and know us just as people,
we become
or vice
friends.
versa.
Yeah, we become friends.
And we may not sell them any more things, but that's just the nature of what happened when we did sell something the first time.
So it's like, let's call it branding is kind of the beginning thought, and branding encompasses all things that we just talked about.
It's the beginning of the experience.
Right. So the branding would be the beginning, and then it would be experience would be the the overall experience is
what kind of experience will I have when I buy from you, talk to you on the phone, ask for help from you.
That's right.
After something I've already bought needs attention,
right.
Whatever it is, what's my experience with you? And if you can step away long enough and look at it and say, was this good or bad? Then you can go from there to understand if you're actually feeling true joy in your experience being a business owner.
Yep, I agree. And I think that this is an important conversation to have, important to pay attention to. It doesn't,
whether you're in business now or getting ready to go into one, to constantly maybe stop and reassess, what kind of experience did we have today?
Exactly.